Hi, thanks for coming back to the show. I know you were here last week as well, but this week I have someone new. Her name is Alexis Cole, but she's not new to everybody because she's, I'd say, somewhat popular within her realm of entertainment. She's a performing artist, but she has a very, very interesting background. I first interviewed Alexis Cole 4 years ago on, I'd say, July 5th. And the reason I picked that date is because Alexis Cole, besides being an outstanding jazz performer, she's also a working and a serving military professional. Hi, Alexis.
Hey, Tony. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm very excited about this interview.
Oh, thank you.
Tell the audience how you actually got into singing jazz and how you're also in the service as well. Why are those two things together?
Sure. Well, I've always been a singer ever since I was 5 years old, standing up on a tree stump, entertaining other preschoolers. My mother tells me that story, and anybody else. She tells that story all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've always been an entertainer and a performer, and singing was the big part of that. Mm-hmm. In high school, I went to a special school that, and I studied musical theater. It was like LaGuardia here. It was down in Miami, called the New World School of the Arts.
Okay.
And while I was there, I was on a track for musical theater, but I wasn't a good dancer, not such a good actress. And when I was a senior in high school, I saw an advertisement that said, sing jazz. And they needed somebody to sing in a band at a hotel in South Beach with a sequencer and a marimba player. It was a little corny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he gave me some CDs of Ella Fitzgerald, of Sarah Vaughan. He said, learn these songs, these specific songs. And as soon as I heard them, I was like, oh, of course, I'm supposed to be a jazz singer. It just dawned on me completely. I mean, I'd been singing and training my voice, and then to just be able to turn all that to jazz, which is so improvisational and really gives a lot of room for self-expression, and isn't like showy and glitzy, but very like a real earthy music. And I felt like it really reflected my personality and my artistic vision. Yeah. And so that's how I got into singing, and it paid $50.
Wow.
So I was there in high school.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was lucky. It was a really great intervention in my life because I then went on to college for jazz and was able to really focus my studies. And I just knew from that moment that I was doing exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I mean, I always knew I wanted to perform and to sing, but once I really focused in on jazz.
Yeah.
And interestingly, my grandmother, who's no longer with us, but she was a great jazz singer. I mean, she called it popular music.
Yeah.
She didn't understand why in jazz they did all that variations on the melody, the improvisation part, but she loved all the same songs that I love, and I really feel like I've captured a lot of her style and her class in my performance and in my diction.
Yeah.
When I would sing for her, and she'd be like, nobody can understand you when you talk like that, when you sing like that. Say the words. And one of the funny things is that in a lot of reviews, people say, "Oh, I could understand every word that you sang." And so even though that's not really focusing on I want them to focus on the music, not on my diction. But I do appreciate that. I appreciate that came from my grandmother. So then your second question, you asked how I got into the military. So so freelancing as a jazz vocalist is a wonderful opportunity to have all kinds of creative moments in your life and try new things. But at a certain point in my 30s, I was really looking to settle down a little bit. And I had no home at that time. I was just bouncing back and forth. I would do these long gigs in Tokyo, playing the piano and singing.
In Tokyo?
And then I was living with a boyfriend in Toronto, and I'd go back and forth, and then I'd come to New York for a week and play a couple of gigs. But I had no home. And I was starting to think, I wish God that there was a way that I could have a home, and a place for myself, because I was feeling a little bit like dépaysé, like without homeland, because I was so international. And right around the time I was thinking this, an amazing opportunity came up to audition for that band, and I said, "Oh my gosh, the military! That's nothing that I would have ever thought of for myself." I said, "You know what? I'm gonna go." And I'll just go with my heart. If I win the audition, then I'll decide then. I'm not going to decide beforehand. And as soon as it was offered to me, I was like, it was very obvious in my heart, and in my head, that this was a great move, because to be a government-sponsored jazz singer.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I've been involved in a lot. I've always been involved in activism work, fighting
Yeah.
for the Constitution, and
Yeah.
I'm a real American patriot.
Yes.
And I never really alighted my feelings with the military because they're involved in a lot of things that were different from my activism work. But once I realized that I could bring my music into the military and that we could sort of join the forces of activism and what the military is doing, because we are, as the military, defending the country and trying to promote peace. And I really do believe that as different as things might end up, that after having been in the military, I really do trust the intentions of our leaders.
Yeah.
And so it's really been a delight and a pleasure to have brought my music into the military setting.
You did say to me at the interview that we did on the radio some time ago, you said something that in the beginning and at the end you said, now I know what it's really like to be an American. You wanted to really, do what you feel it is to be an American, and that's what really motivated you to feel good about what you were doing, because you mentioned your activism. Even though we don't always agree with everything the government does, we know who we are.
Well, I have to tell you, it was a lot easier to take the vows to my commander-in-chief when it was Obama. I'm a real supporter and a fan, and to get to be part of, whoever the commander-in-chief is, he is, but to get to actually serve him and the Constitution and protect freedom is like a great gift.
So that's your good thing, yeah. So I was very fortunate to attend the 4th of July, performance that the military did at West Point this past 4th of July. And I was stunned at the amount of talent that was really in the military. And I'm wondering what it's like working with all of this talent. How does it feel to work with other soldiers that are just into the arts? It's just the performing arts.
It's interesting because, the military is a hierarchy. And so we have a commander, and he directs where things go, and at the beginning he might say, I wanted to go in this direction, and then people try and carry out that direction. They say, what songs could we maybe come up with that would carry out the flavor that he's trying to capture? And so it's sort of done by committee. He'll say, I like this, I don't like that. That will lead to new discussion, and then at the end of the day you end up with a really refined piece of work. And that's one of the great gifts that being in the military has taught me, is how to work in committee and how to collaborate really with people and working with a big group, because oftentimes and how to work in advance, because oftentimes I'll sort of think of a program in one afternoon and I'll just make it all out. But now I see, if you go back and you refine that, it's how to do a production instead of just a show.
Right, it was like a Broadway production. I was really with occasional cannons going off.
Cannons and the salute to the states with all the flags. And the best part was when the Jeep drove up and she was waving the flag on the Jeep, and then Sergeant Gaynor got up on top and was singing about America. I was standing behind the Jeep watching the flag and Sergeant Gaynor. I was like, I'll never forget this moment for my life. And that with the whole Corps of Cadets right in front of me.
The new
I had the best view of the whole concert.
It was very exciting, and I noticed that being in the crowd, it was very exciting for the kids.
Yes.
And I saw that they sort of embraced the children, where a lot of the children went on stage. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Very well thought out, a very mindfully produced production.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if a lot of the people that are in the military now, because you're a career military. No? Yes?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, there are some people I know that are in there. I'm wondering if they plan on actually going into the arts, the performing arts, when they get out, because it seems the military is preparing them for it, for the performing arts.
I wouldn't say that that's so.
Yeah,
No.
It seemed like it. So there's something better than that. If someone did not know, they would think so. So I would say, anyway, if you ever get an opportunity to see the military at West Point perform during any kind of national holiday, go. It's a great performance.
Thank
Fantastic.
You. We have a concert series that goes throughout the summer at Trophy Point. And then we have a really amazing holiday concert, usually the first week of December at Eisenhower Hall.
Right.
We also do a Veterans Day show and other concerts throughout the year. And they can check that out at westpointband.com. List all of our programs.
Yeah, sounds really good.
Yeah. So I'm actually only going to be in that band for another year. I've resigned from the band.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I know they're going to be sad.
Oh, I found them a great replacement. I hope she's going to win the audition. We'll see who gets it. But
in the meantime, you're actually performing in Manhattan, I've noticed. And so tell us about the clubs you've been performing at in Manhattan.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, coming up on July 26th, I'm going to be at the Kitano, Jazz at the Kitano.
That's a great
At the Kitano Hotel.
Yeah, that's a great hotel.
Yes,
And they
it's
do
beautiful.
excellent jazz, and that's quite a feather in your cap.
It's a beautiful spot, and they're really a home for me. They have me there every 6 months, very regularly.
Yeah.
And they have the most amazing piano, so I'm able to really bring my best pianist and have a great time there.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful spot. That's on July 26th. And then I have a new album coming out on, the release concert is August 26th.
Okay.
And that is at the Baha'i Temple at 53 East 11th Street. And they have a beautiful performing arts space there at the Baha'i Temple. It's an auditorium. They named it after Dizzy Gillespie because he was a famous Baha'i.
Yeah.
And actually it's
that.
coordinated by Mike Longo, who's a local Peekskill resident. He goes back and
Oh.
forth between Peekskill and Manhattan.
Okay.
And so I'm going to have the CD released there
Yeah.
that night.
So you're talking about other Peekskill artists. It seems like this might be a really good place for someone like you. I mean, do you feel that that Peekskill has been somewhat of like a launching pad of sorts for you in any way? Or is it just because of its proximity to West Point?
I moved here because of its proximity both to West Point and to the city,
Yeah.
to New York City, and I felt like it would be easy to get to both places. I mean, it's a beautiful commute to West Point over the
Yeah.
Bear Mountain Bridge every
Yeah.
day. I'll
Yeah.
never get tired of that. And going down to the city with the train makes Peekskill a really ideal space to live. And I love the community that we have here
Yeah.
and the farmers market and all the various artists and interesting people that are here. And I love that it's a small city, that you can really know your neighbors and
Yes.
know the community and the restaurants and everything. It's really been a great space. It's really the first place in my life that I've felt like I could really call home.
Right.
So it's wonderful to be here.
I sense that the businesses here, the restaurants, and a lot of the businesses really support the arts. You know, I noticed they're standing behind a lot of people and with the block parties that they're doing during the summer. I hear you'll be performing at one of those as well.
That's right. Next Sunday, July 20th, I'm going to be there. And actually on August 8th, I'll be at the Bean Runner Cafe.
Okay. Oh.
Yes, with my band, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, which is a jazz spot.
Yes.
They've sort of made themselves into the weekend jazz spot, and I think that's an appropriate place for you to be. I'm sure they're really happy to have you there. So, what are your real plans? Like, you said that you're doing one more year with the West Point Jazz Nights, and then what happens after that?
Well, I'm going to stay here in my loft. I love
Okay.
it here, and
Yeah.
it's a great space. I also, just yesterday, was asked to be part of the faculty at SUNY Purchase.
Oh, that's
So,
very,
yes.
very good.
And a few months ago, I also was asked to be part of the faculty at City College.
Okay.
So I'm going to have 2 universities that I'm working
Yeah.
at, adjuncting, teaching lessons and a few classes,
Yeah.
which is really wonderful. I love teaching. I don't want to not perform. I consider myself a performer who teaches, not the other way around. But it really gives me so much energy and love. I almost never get through an entire lesson without almost crying because seeing my students grow and get an idea, it really makes me so turned on. I'm so excited. It's really a great thing. So I'm going to be doing those 2 universities, and then I work with a wonderful agency that books a lot of jazz musicians, including one of my idols, Freddie Cole.
Oh, okay.
And so they're going to be booking me more. Part of the thing about being in the Army is that when they need you, you can't say no. You can't say I'm busy. I'm sorry. I have a week at the Blue Note booked. I'm sorry I can't make it to your to your veterans concert or whatever. There's no saying no. And so I feel like over the past 5 years that I've been in the military band, although there's been amazing opportunities such as playing with the Boston Pops, singing with the New York Philharmonic Brass.
Nice.
These are incredible opportunities that I wouldn't have had without that. And I made connections with those people that I might work with them again.
Right.
But and even just to be on stage with a full orchestra behind me is something that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to do without the job. So there's been great opportunities. And at the same time, this time when it was time to re-enlist, I just knew that it was time for me to move on, to really give my career the breadth and space that it needs to develop. Because as you know, as independent businesswomen, you have to focus on whatever's best for your business. And it really, it's like my child, my music business. The singing is my passion, but the business is my life's work, so I treasure both of those things, and I want to do right by them.
And it sounds like what you're doing is you're paying it forward, because you did talk about the educational aspect. A lot of the artists, I'd say, I don't want to say most because I don't know the number, but I know that a lot of the artists here in Peekskill, New York, were also teaching artists. So we do pay it forward. And I think it's great that you feel such passion for taking what you know and passing it on to another blooming artist or someone. Sometimes you get someone that's not so blooming, they're doing it, but I know I always seek to learn something.
Right.
But I think it's wonderful that you've embraced that.
Oh, thank you.
Teaching at SUNY is really good. The performing arts entity, which is SUNY Purchase.
Amazing. I know.
It's
I'm
amazing.
delighted. I'm still. And I've known about that program for years and really admired the work that they're doing there. So to be able to be brought on as part of their team is really wonderful.
No, that's a fantastic thing.
And it doesn't matter to me too whether a student is an aspiring professional singer or just somebody who it's a hobby or a passion. Seeing the growth that we have, and singing is such a personal thing.
It is.
It really can affect people's lives. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of pleasure in teaching amateurs as well as budding professionals.
I really admire anyone that sings, because what I do know, not being a singer, is you do have to draw from way deep inside of yourself. And so when you sing,
It's very vulnerable.
It is. I've sung a couple of songs here and there, and I have to say, you feel very vulnerable. And as a singer, you don't have to worry so much about how you're going to sound because you're so trained. But at the same time, you do have to draw from yourself. I've heard you. And you do, you just let the emotion flow. It's a beautiful thing. So you have a CD, you say, that's coming out.
Yes.
Tell me about what's going to be on that particular CD.
Yeah, it's actually the first time I've recorded a program of early jazz.
Okay.
So I've recorded 8 other CDs as a leader up till now, and this is the first time that that are displayed behind you there.
Yes.
But this is the first time I'm delving into the early jazz repertoire.
Okay.
And it's for a label called Chesky Records.
Chesky.
And they do a lot with library. They create libraries for movies and television to use. So it's possible that one of my songs could be used in its background for a TV show or for a movie. You walk into a club scene and hear my music playing. That's the hope of the creation of that. But it's recorded in a really unique way that I'd never done it before. We went into a church, a big resonant space, and they actually placed one microphone in the center of the room.
Yeah.
And the microphone is shaped like a head. We called him Lars because he was made in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
And it has 2 microphones in the ears, and it has some microphones in the front because we actually hear through our facial bones too. And so I got really close to it so that I could sing all low and quiet.
Yeah.
And we put the bass kind of further away and the saxophone much further and the drums back there. And what you get in that one microphone is the mix that you're going to get. So there's a little bit of possibility for editing, but it's not like anybody can go back and record anything. So it's a really live recording situation.
Organic.
And the sound, when you put headphones on, it sounds like you're in the room. Like literally, I turned around to see if somebody was behind me when I put the headphones on, because I felt like I was in there. It's an amazing experience. So the name of that recording style is called binaural.
Binaural.
Yeah, and binaural, something about like a binaural.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it's spelled. But it's an amazing technique, and they use that for all of their recordings, and it's really incredible. So that's going to be on Chesky Records in September, and the release concert is August 26th.
Well, look forward to that.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's nice to hear that you're just like out there doing all these different things. So you work with I assume it's with Embark Peekskill here, Sol Miranda. She's with Embark. That's a performing arts entity. So I'm happy to hear that you're going to be on the block for the block party as the businesses around here support the arts. And I'm looking forward to hearing you again, maybe at Catano. I mean, there's another club I know that you perform at in the city that I get your newsletters. What club is that? In the Village, perhaps?
Oh, Smoke?
Yes.
Yes, I was just there a couple of weeks ago.
What is that? What's it like performing in that particular venue?
Oh, it's a wonderful venue, and the food there is fantastic. They have such a good chef, which I love.
Yeah,
Big food person.
Yes, we love to eat.
Yep. But anyway, it's a long room, and they've got a big red velvet curtain in the back, and it's a real high class, but not pretentious place. And they've got also a wonderful piano. It's very important when these venues have a great piano. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful space, very warm and welcoming.
Yeah, it's more
Upper
intimate.
West Side. Yep.
More intimate than Catano's sort of. Well, Catano's big.
No, they're both pretty intimate.
Yeah.
They're both small. And
It's just very different style, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Catano is a hotel that I know a lot of Japanese business people go there.
Yes.
And my understanding, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Japanese are very engaged in jazz.
Absolutely. Well, I have 3 CDs on a Japanese label, and I'm about to record a 4th one.
Oh, great.
They're great supporters of the music, and they really do it right.
Right.
And I, you know, as I mentioned, I lived in Japan, and I'm actually going back in September for a concert coordinated with the West Point Band and the Japanese military band
nice.
at Sumida Trifoni Hall in Tokyo.
Oh, I
so
hope
that's
that-
going to be really a great performance. I'm excited about that.
I hope that there's some video recording of that as well.
I hope so, yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
it's epic. For those 2 militaries to join together
Right.
in this diplomatic way is really special.
Who's translating for that particular?
There's no translating, it's just music.
Yeah, so
you don't
music
need-
translates itself.
That's right.
Wow, that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Very exciting. So, in terms of peak scale, the Bean Runner Cafe you'll be at, which is a jazz
Right, on August 8th.
venue, definitely. Any other places in Westchester?
Well, every Wednesday night I am at Underhills Crossing in
Okay.
Bronxville. It's a
Okay.
wonderful restaurant.
Okay.
And every Thursday night I'm at Crabtree's Kittle House in Chappaqua, New York.
Oh, wow, I didn't
so
know that.
those are, yep, I play piano and sing there Wednesday and
Yeah.
Thursday nights. Occasionally I have to miss it for another performance, but I'm almost always there. And people can check my website at alexiscole.com, and that information about those venues and all my other gigs are there, and it's always updated, and you can see it on your phone or on the desktop.
I asked this question, it's kind of corny. If you were to give some kind of advice to someone that's like an aspiring singer, now that you're an educator and you'll be actually a true educator when you're teaching at a university, you know, what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring singer?
A few important things that I do tell people. One is really learn the piano. You've got to have piano skills to make a career as a singer, I think, because it really enables you to learn new music. You can accompany yourself. I use the piano to accompany students.
Yeah.
And I just think it's such an important part of being able to make a living singing. Just singing is nice, you know, but you have to have musical skills.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of your skills, is knowing the piano. The second skill is knowing business and understanding, you know, at least caring to try and learn how to do the computer. So many different things I do on the computer, from designing my own postcards, my website, running my mailing list, you know, emails and all those things. And then, you know, business, being able to take your band on tour and knowing how that works. You have to be a travel agent too, and a designer and an audio engineer, because you know, I might reduce a long track to a clip or something, or add some sound effect. There's just so many things that you have to do on the computer. So learning those skills. And treating musicians and everybody with complete respect and kindness, regardless of the situation. Because I think when I was younger, maybe I got myself in a little trouble being a little too much of a purist, or, you know, caring too much. But you just have to let things go and be the most professional person that you can be, and that's how you're going to get calls back.
Yeah.
Because it's a job.
It's
you know?
a job.
It's not about being out there being a crazy person in a band. You know, you've got to be a professional.
Yeah.
And really, also, people, when they sing jazz, a lot of times they have the idea of jazzy, not jazz, and they don't really take care to train their instrument, like with technique, really deep technique. And I think that's really crucial too, is to study classical or study technique, and really make sure that you understand how to use your instrument before you go heaping on a bunch of affectations that you think sound jazzy.
Right.
So that's sort of the crux of my style of teaching.
I think that's beautiful, and I think you're going to be an outstanding teacher. I'd love to take one of your classes.
Oh.
Now, I'm not a singer, but I've taken some lessons here and there over the
nice.
years, and just to sort of get a different feel for what it's like to truly be disciplined, and also as a speaker. Singing is
one of my students has a company that she does voiceover and public speaking training. She's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. Well, there's something very magical about you,
Oh.
and I've always been very enamored with you and your work, very much so. And I have to say, much respect for your discipline and your professionalism.
Thank you, Tony.
And it's a beautiful thing, I'm glad I know you.
Oh, likewise.
It's special, and thank you for
It's
coming.
nice that we're neighbors.
It is nice that we're neighbors,
Yeah.
right? And I'm so happy that you agreed to speak with me on camera.
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing more of you.
Thank you.
And perhaps we'll revisit sometime when your album comes out.
Great. And don't forget, I'm having soirees here.
Oh, the soirees.
Yes, the soirees. That's why we're here, and the piano.
Yes.
So
how could I forget the soirees?
Right. So we started. We had 2 already, where basically I had different performers plus myself playing here, and I could fit about 50 people in my loft.
Yes.
And we did, and it
I
was a
can
lot of
attest to
fun.
that.
It was a little. I'm not going to do them through the summer because I don't have air conditioning here. But once maybe September comes and it cools down a little bit, I'll be having them again, and it's such a great space to present people in, and I just feel so blessed to have this incredible space.
It's wonderful space. I'll tell the audience it's warm and welcoming, as you are.
Thank you.
And we'll be hearing more from you. And where can one find out about you? Do you have a website?
Of course, it's alexiscole.com.
AlexisCole.com, everybody. Check it out. And thank you so much, Alexis.
Oh, thank you. And I'm at Twitter at Alexis Cole Sings.
So thank you, everybody, for coming to the show. Thank you, Alexis. And I always thank my audience for coming and tuning in. And I really appreciate it. You have to know that I really feel that way from the bottom of my heart. And there'll be another interview coming soon. But please check out Alexis Cole. She's where it's at. Thank you. Goodbye.
Summertime and the living's easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton's high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. You'll spread your wings and take the sky. Till that morning, nothing can harm you. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing. You'll spread your wings, spread your wings, spread your wings, and take the sky.